Hello, and it's really good to have your company for this It's Learning Thursday webinar. My name's Ella Coles and I'm a pedagogical consultant with It's Learning, which means I work with schools, colleges and training providers to help them develop their learning platform and get the most out of it for them and their learners. As usual, the recording will be available for any of your colleagues to catch up with on our website, so please do remind them about it. You can find the recordings by going onto our website, itslearning.com/UK, and then clicking on About and selecting Resources from the menu. By scrolling down the screen, you can then filter on webinars. For those of you watching this webinar from outside the UK, a warm welcome to you. If you have any questions arising from the webinar, please address them to your own national consultants who will be happy to help. I'm going to use a variety of sites to demonstrate what I'm telling you about today, the original It's Learning with the left-hand navigation panel, and also the new It's Learning with the menus along the top. If your school hasn't yet switched to the new It's Learning, don't worry. Everything that I'm showing you today can be done in both versions, and I'll point out any differences as we go. With the coming of spring, thoughts in schools and colleges turn to exams, whether it's Key Stage 1 and 2 SATs, GCSEs, A-levels, vocational qualifications, or just internal end-of-year exams. Students and teachers alike will be gearing up for the revision and testing. So what are the best ways to use your It's Learning platform to make life easier at this time of year? In this webinar, I'll be looking at tips and tricks for various aspects of the exam period. How to help your learners and teachers get organised, using the anytime, anywhere benefits of It's Learning to share notes, resources and advice, helping your learners to revise independently. It's down to them at the end of the day, but we can help. Using the VLE to allow students to help each other with their revision, and then keeping everyone up to date with information. And finally, how can we involve parents and offer support to students during what can be a very stressful time? So there's a wealth of advice and information on the web about the best ways to make sure that your revision is effective and as stress-free as possible. And one of the first things everyone agrees on is get started early. The sooner your learners can get themselves organised with a revision plan, the better. Rather than printing out hundreds of copies of exam timetables, which are often lost as soon as they're handed out, make sure that your students know where to find the timetable on It's Learning. Create a revision course in It's Learning so that all information is in one place and students can access it from home, as well as school or college. You could either simply add the timetable in PDF form as a file or as a linked resource to your course, and maybe add an image link to it from your course dashboard in the classic version of It's Learning, as this school did. Or use a bulletin to direct students to the relevant document in the new It's Learning. You could add the exam timetable to the course calendar, which would then flag up imminent exams in the events block. So here I've added the various exams to my course calendar, and that pulls through onto the student's homepage so that they can see the next few events coming up, the next few exams as they appear. So the sooner that your learners can get themselves organised with a revision plan, the better. Students can use their own personal calendar in It's Learning to plan a revision schedule. Again, It's Learning will pull this through onto their homepage, in the new itslearning, so that they'll get an immediate reminder of what they should be doing as soon as they log in. This will also come through on an events block in the classic version of itslearning. As well as adding any additional revision sessions that you might be offering to your course calendar, a quick reminder with an eye-catching bulletin will never go amiss. You will no doubt be starting to think about revision activities and the resources that you will start to use in lessons, past papers, presentations of key ideas, and help guides. How you organise these very much depends on the age of your learners, the way they're used to accessing materials in itslearning, and so on. One way is to have a year group revision course with subfolders for each subject area to populate and add their own resources. This has the benefit of bringing all revision resources together in one place for students. Of course, your course in itslearning will also provide the perfect site for students to look back on the learning they've done throughout the exam course, enabling them to quickly find information and resources that they may have missed or want to revisit. You could add a separate folder for revision, or add extra resources at the end of each of your topics for extra revision. If you've been using the planner in your course, your students will be able to look back at previous lessons they missed or want to review, as well as have direct access to the resources that you used at the time for their revision. Don't forget to remind students that they can always find resources quickly by typing keywords into the search box. In the classic version of itslearning, the search box is on the top menu bar. Once you've clicked or put your word in there, you will be brought through to the search results where you can narrow down your search. In the new itslearning, the search box is in the personal menu, which you can reach by clicking on your name in the top right-hand corner. And again, you'll instantly find the resources that you need. I certainly remember as a student how tedious it could be trying to reread through my own notes and digest all that information all over again. So a bit of variety is key to getting the cogent facts and information embedded. Topic maps with questions to guide the learner are even more effective if they appear embedded in the screen rather than just as a text link or a button to download a copy. It's very easy just to overlook the usefulness of a file name without actually being able to see what it has inside. So if your school has Office web apps enabled, make full use of this by using the file or link option to upload documents. And that will mean that PDFs and Office documents like Excel and Word and PowerPoint will appear in the screen rather than just being a download button. They do still have the option to download, obviously, so they can print off a copy to complete if they need to. And just as a bit of a teaser, the new Office Online service is due to be rolled out to all customers free of charge, ready for back to school in September. So soon all our customers will be able to do this and much more with Office documents within itslearning. Video tutorials are an excellent way to let students go through key points again. There are literally thousands of these on YouTube, some of questionable value, I agree. So why not share your favourites in your course? Just grab the URL from the top of the page in YouTube and use the embed button in the rich text editor to embed the video directly into a page or a note in your course. You might want to use a survey in itslearning to find out which parts of the syllabus are worrying your students the most, and use this to inform what you focus on in the run-up to the exams. Exam practice is essential to get learners used to what will be required of them, but past papers can get very boring if that's all the student is using. How about creating some itslearning quizzes to get them familiar with the type of questions they might meet? Many of these can be set up as self-marking and give feedback, which means that your students can practice on their own and have as many attempts as they need to become confident. Talking about independent revision, this is one of the areas that learners often find the most difficult, how to take responsibility for their own learning. And just before the exams, they'll have to be doing a lot of this. Distractions are everywhere at home, so make sure that they're not tempted to wander off on a tangent by organising all the key resources in one place. You can also include help with skills that they'll need in the exam, such as using kits like a scientific calculator. If your organisation has subscriptions to revision resources, such as GCSE Pod, you can add a link to them in your course. And if it's a secure site, so if it starts with HTTPS in the URL, itslearning will embed the live site in the page, so your students know exactly where to go. All they have to do is click on the login link and log into GCSE Pod or whatever site it is directly from itslearning. If you have a techie person around, here's one you could get them to help with. Here, the source code for a table of links on a maths revision site has been pasted directly into the source view in a content block on an itslearning page, enabling the school to share the resources without having to tediously recreate the table and links. How about trying to introduce an element of fun? The website Quizlet.com lets you search for or create study sets for key vocabulary, definitions and so on, which students can then use in a variety of formats to study and practice and revise against the clock. So here we've got an example of one where the student has to match elements against their chemical symbol. And another format of a Quizlet practice set. Here the inbuilt audio makes these activities particularly useful for modern languages, for oral English, for spelling practice, and also for supporting EAL and poor readers. So I'm just going to come out of my slides for a moment and pop into Quizlet just to show you a little bit more about that. So here you can either search for a particular topic that you want to find a study set for. You can create your own, so create your own pairs of cards. And once you've just put in the image, you can record your own narrative with them if you wish, your text. You can then save those or even edit a set, take a copy and edit a set that somebody else has created. And then you can see there are a number of different ways that the student can use them, either as games or flashcards in order to be able to practice that vocabulary or that terminology that is key for the subject. So I've chosen one here for hairdressing terms, and just going to the More button on here. If I click on that, I'll see the embed link there. All I need to do is choose the activity that I would like this to start on. They can go in and change that on the site itself if they want to try lots of different activities. And I'm going just to select flashcards here and copy the HTML code that the site gives me. And if I go back to my It's Learning site and add a resource, let's put this in as a note. Give it a title. And then using the embed button here, I just paste in the code that I have copied from the site. I'll see a preview of the flashcards, and when I click on Insert, I'll see the placeholder, and then I can just scroll down and click on Save. And that will put in that particular activity for me, where the students can choose the way that they want to revise, and they can flick through the cards, flipping them to see the definition and using the audio, if it's perhaps something like modern foreign languages, to be able to hear the terminology as well. Why not make your own short video recaps for topics that your students always struggle with? You can use a free screen recorder tool such as Snagit, or if you have Office, my favourite is Office Mix, which is a free plugin for PowerPoint. You just open a new slide, click on Office Mix tab at the top once you've installed it, and it will allow you to record anything that you can see on your screen, and also to record a narrative over the top of it. So you can then save that as an MP4 file and upload that to your It's Learning course. I just go back quickly to It's Learning and click on My Resources. Just show you a little bit of that. So if I add, and we'll add a page this time. You obviously give your page a title. If you add a content block and a rich content block, all you have to do then is use this little button here, the video button. You may have used this for recording video directly into the page, but if you notice, you've also got an upload tab, and you can navigate to wherever you have saved a particular video and pop that in. I've put a rather big file in there, so it's not going to take that one at the moment. I haven't got enough storage space. But if you're doing a short MP4 video tutorial, that will pop in just fine. Collaborative revision is a great way for learners to help each other revise. You may think about doing a little bit of a brainstorming session at the start of your revision, just to find out exactly what students can remember about a particular topic. Here I've gone to a site called padlet.com, Padlet.com, to create a pin board for students to add anything they can remember about a particular topic. This can then be the basis for them to understand where their own gaps lie and give them a focus for their revision. Again, the Padlet site will give you the embed code to copy and paste into your It's Learning course, and then the students will just click on, not on my live site, we just click on the little plus to add their own contribution, and any number of students can work at the same time on this particular activity. Discussion forums are a great way for students to support each other by explaining stuff in ways their peers might understand. And as we know, the process of explaining or teaching a topic to someone else is also one of the best ways of consolidating your own learning. So again, just simply from the add in the resources part of your course, you can add a discussion forum, and your students can click to add a new thread with questions that they have, asking for help or asking for explanations from other students. The fact that with It's Learning, communication is made so much easier, both inside and outside the classroom walls, really comes into its own once students have gone off on study leave. Encourage them to download the It's Learning app from Google Play Store or the iPhone App Store so that they can keep up to date with latest bulletins, events and messages from school or college. They can also access all their revision materials via their phone, which means being able to revise on the go during a car journey or while babysitting anywhere they happen to be. And finally, how can It's Learning help to bring in support when your learners may be struggling? First thing you could do would be to put some tips and hints together to help your students from the outset. A revision tips course in It's Learning can give good advice and tips to make your learners' lives a little easier and help them perform to their full potential during the exams. Again, discussion forums are a good way for students to support each other, and you can dip in too if necessary. And finally, make sure that students know they can contact someone for help if it all gets too much. A tutor, a mentor, a peer listener, for example, a head of year, who they can use the instant messaging within It's Learning to contact in case of real trouble. Just before I finish on that note, I just wanted to also mention being able to bring in parents into the equation and help them support their child during the exam period and the run-up to it. If your school has accounts for parents with It's Learning, you may already be using the parent dashboard, but I'm just going to go in as a parent on this particular site. Just remember that you can also add content blocks as well as the aggregated blocks which pull through the information and reports for your pupils so that parents can view those. Homeworks and so on. And you can add your own content block. So here I've just put in an image with a hyperlink through to a course that I have created for parents. So just in the normal way, I would add a course from the add course menu and add the participants as the parents of my students. This link can then take them through to information in that course that I have created. It might be handouts, it might be newsletters, and it might be information about how students can how parents, can support their child, give them more information about the exams that their child is going to be doing, and perhaps some tips and hints on the best way to support their revision. So if you have any ideas extra to what I've shown here today for things that you've done or you're thinking of doing this year to support your learners with their revision and during the exam period, I'd be delighted to hear from you. We'd love to be able to share those with other schools and colleges. So just tweet us at itslearning UK, #Learning Thursdays, and give us your ideas and your feedback. And I'll leave you with my contact details if you have any questions. So until next time, thank you very much.